everybody coming on to the stream today. Hi, my name is Lizzie. Welcome to our show, AnimeinkArt LIve Talks. So I hope you guys had a good week so far. Today's Friday, so it's coming on to the weekend. I know you guys are excited. I know I am. So definitely for those that may not know what this show is about, this is AnimeinkArt LIve Talks, where we talk with different blurred Black creators in the community about their journey in content creation and how we can support each other better in the community. So we have a very special guest today. They are Ethan Murphy, the creator of Echelon Novels. It is a Black indie publishing company. They're not just a publishing company, they're a creative studio. Their mission is to provide diverse stories to the public that isn't immersive, that's like a movie experience, and that they're able to, whoever comes to create comics, that they are empowered with the tools that are necessary. So definitely let's get them on. Let's give them a warm welcome. Hello.
Hello, Lizzie. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I mean, that intro was so perfect. I mean, I can leave right now. Leave on time ahead. Make it worse.
No. Thank you. I appreciate that. So how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good. I like your earrings. Were those a present for Christmas?
Oh, it's actually because I do cosplay a little bit. So this is supposed to be for I did Def the Kid, and I had like gothic earrings. I didn't choose these, but like sometimes I use them for different things. So.
Oh, okay. I love it. That's what's up. I like it.
Thank you. I just wanted to like thank you for reaching out and like agreeing to come on the show. I really appreciate that.
Of course, I appreciate you. Appreciate what you're doing. Yeah, you're obviously helping out people like us as far as creators of color, and that's a really good thing. So yeah, more power to you.
Of course. And for those that may not know who you are, introduce yourself and what you do.
Of course. My name is Ethan Murphy. People call me the king of the comics. I'm the co-founder and head writer over at Echelon Graphic Novels. And like you said, basically what our job is I help people bring their vision to life. There are lots of people out there in the world that have a story to tell, but don't really know how to do it. And through I'm a very, very old person, as you can tell, in all my years of experience, all my mistakes, what I want to do is kind of cut through that for the people, help them tell their story in the best way possible without having all the pitfalls that I had to go through.
Yeah, definitely. You're definitely doing an amazing job. So I first wanted to start off with like how you started writing, because when I was doing my research, I know that you went to school for media and design, and you all digital arts and design, and you also had a concentration in creative writing, and then you started working with smaller like comic companies, like trying to develop your skills before you started Echelon Comics. So for people that may not know your background, you can share a little bit.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. If I get too long in the tooth, just let me know.
You're good.
Old folks tend to ramble. But basically, I'm from the South. I'm from Virginia, and there's a film school out there I went to. It's called the School of Media Art and Design at Madison University. And essentially what I wanted to do when I was younger, Lizzie, is I wanted to be an actual filmmaker. And after finishing up school, I realized how hard it would be to get into Hollywood. Yeah. And my brother just said, why don't you just try to take all those ideas you have for making movies or stories and make them two-dimensionally into actual comic books, because we both love comic books and manga. And I said, a bad idea, so let me figure out how to do this. And it took a while before I realized how it was to actually get into the industry, or how to actually make a comic book graphic novel from scratch. Most people have no idea how to do that. I was in the same position. And over the years, it took me a while before I realized how you actually structure an actual script, how you actually kind of find a team as far as illustrators and colorists, graphic designers, all those things, and kind of putting together how to get it actually printed up. Yeah, it's a bit of a journey, but I'm grateful for every step of it.
That's amazing. And I wanted to ask, what was the inspiration for you to start Echelon Novels? I know that you have your background in writing and you're writing for a while, but what was that push? Because everybody has that push to finally like start the process.
Sure, absolutely. Basically, what it was is I went to my sister's baby shower for my nephew. I love him to pieces. He's like 17 now, but there was a dude who actually worked as an inker for DC Comics at the time. And he told me, he said, why don't you actually try, basically almost like a challenge. He's like, why don't you try taking, my boy and I had talked about doing this book, possibly as far as like a cop working with somebody.
Mhm.
I want to try making a script with that. I was like a comic with somebody. I had no idea what to do with it, but I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil. And so I said, well, why just have it that this cop is a zombie? Why not? I mean, this was fun. So I tried to write that book out, like the whole treatment for it, essentially. And with that treatment, I found an artist that worked in the Philippines that was willing to do some work for for affordable price as far as developing some artwork, what have you. I got
Yeah.
a small little packet or portfolio showing the idea or story that I had, and it went to a Comic Con. I went to it's called C2E2. It's in Chicago. It's a big convention.
Mhm.
I went there, and I think it was 2008 with my brother, and I found Dan Didio. At the time, he was the head editor over at DC Comics. And
Mhm.
I said, Mr. Didio, would you mind just giving me some advice on how to get into the industry, what to do? And I showed him the actual portfolio that I had. And he goes, this is actually pretty cool. It's pretty interesting story. This isn't quite what we do, but it's not that bad. And he said, what you probably need to go ahead and do is actually finish doing an official, actual comic of some kind. Doesn't matter how long it is, just have something finished with the story in mind. And he said, oh, by the way, whatever you do, make sure you have some kind of a copyright or label on it so that nobody can take it. I said, okay, cool. So I did a finish the kind of draft for that actual comic book. Got it kind of made. This was a simple thing.
Mhm.
And I went ahead and I had to find a label, an actual LLC of some kind, not a full-blown LLC, but I had to get a copy written so it'd
Mhm.
be covered.
Mhm.
And that's what I did. And then as I made as I finished that official book, I realized I had to go ahead and have a full-blown label, comic book label name that kind of encapsulated everything that protected me and my team for everything we had created. And that's
Mhm.
kind of how we came up with Echelon Graphic Novels. And the name Echelon came up from, I can't remember to this day, Lizzie. I'm a very, very old man with a very, very bad brain. But there was it was an anime, I believe,
Mhm.
where there were two characters. I think it was like Sailor Moon or something goofy from like the early 80s. But like there was two characters walked into a room, and one of them said, welcome to the upper echelon, as far as like them fighting each other. Then they threw hands. So I
Mhm.
always had that in my brain as far as
Mhm.
it's symbolizing the kind of coming into a new area of like a higher quality, so to speak.
That's awesome. And also, I wanted to ask so what was the inspiration for your flagship series of Slate and Ashe?
Sure, sure. So the basic idea where Slade Nash is more or less that it's like it's you've probably seen. I'm not sure how much a fan of this stuff of this genre you are, but I
Mhm.
love buddy cop stories like Rush Hour with Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker, or like even if you go to like even further back with Big Trouble in Little China or Lethal Weapon with Danny Glover, those type of
Mhm.
stories. I like the idea of of a yin and yang having to work together to kind of solve or fight a crime, whatever it might be. So the idea with Slade and Ash is that that's what it is. The cop and the zombie are very much diametrically opposed, but they have to work together to help save somebody. And I wanted the idea of them working together to fight other monsters or zombies because it's it's more engaging if it's clear that they're kind of in over their head. Having a cop and a zombie fighting against a whole bunch of other bigger monsters is a kind
Mhm.
of a fun scenario. If that makes sense.
No, it actually really is a fun concept, and I was interested if you can explain a little bit more about like because the premise around is about those that are like the disease and like not disease and like the infighting in between the series. So I want to ask like what was the inspiration behind making the disease and for people that may not know what it is in the story.
Sure, absolutely. So obviously we're people of color, so part of it too is it does draw from uh, racism in a sense.
Mm.
In this world or in this story, it's not so much about black and white or
Mhm.
anything like that. It's more or less about living and unliving. And the unliving or the undead, essentially, they're considered, lesser than, and they are when not to get into all the plot details or what have you, but
Of course.
once a situation arises where they are dead walking amongst the living, the dead
Mhm.
are very much treated like slaves or worse. They're experimented on. They have no idea what to do with them. That type of situation. And obviously, over time, these zombies do fight back, and so you're kind of seeing the two sides. It's the living versus the living, as far as the class and everything else, and that's kind of the war that they're dealing with. So the idea of this cop uh, who's basically who I based, not to get too much on a sidetrack, but I'm a huge fan of the Boondocks. So I based, you've seen it, Lizzie, I based the main cop character, off of Huey Freeman from the Boondocks. If he was like 25, that's how he looks, essentially. So it's a cop having to work with a zombie, having to work past his own issues and bigotry to work with his actual the zombie, to try to help for a greater good, so to speak. I know I said a whole bunch of stuff there. I'm not sure if any of that made sense. Hopefully,
No, it did make sense, especially because like when you tied it into like racism, it's like oh wait, because I know like from reading your page and everything that you're about, it's like you always try to tie your stories to the complexities of life. So it is interesting how like it seems like all the stories like combined have some of those like place markers in it, particularly like the flagship series. And I want to ask, since this is like your first introduction to like the whole company into a whole, and then you later on publish multiple titles that will get into some of those and like the company as a whole. How did you feel about the response of Slade and Ashe with the public over time? Like, what was your first experience with like the reception of it?
Sure. It was I was very, very fortunate. I had a very supportive family. Like I mentioned, my brother before. And as the comic was coming out, and it's kind of we first debuted it in, I think it was 20, it was a while ago. It's a while ago at a convention it was at Awesome Con and in DC. And it was a massive, the con had so many people there because a different convention was like canceled. So there's so many people that were there at this con, and we only, I think, printed up like 60 books or something like that. And we sold out halfway through the second day. We're like, what are we going to do now? We bought 3 days at the table. We only had 60 books. We sold out really quick. So it had a very, very good response. And then people came back on the second day wanting the second copy. And we're like, it doesn't exist. I haven't even written it yet. So it was a very, very positive response to it. And the thing about it as well was that as they finished the full series, the series for the first arc is 6 books. At other conventions over the years, we've gotten better responses too. And literally, I'm not sure if I told you about this, how an actual producer, an executive producer, approached us at a convention. He bought the first 3 books, and then later on, he contacted me after the convention because he wanted to actually adapt it or option it off into a movie. And so people have bizarrely been pretty receptive to the series, much more than I ever thought they would be. And I can't complain.
It's amazing. And I also want to say in 2020 you were able to partner with Platinum Studios, and that just further expanded you being able to, because like you said, you're not only a publishing company, you're also creative studio, and the goal is to have these stories not only in 2D form but like in actual like movie and film form. So how were you able to get the opportunity to partner with Platinum Studios? And in the past 5 years, because I believe it was 2020, going on 6 now, how has it really helped you scale Echelon Novels?
Sure. Yeah, excellent. That's a really good question. And like I mentioned before, I was fortunate enough that at one of my conventions I went to in LA, a producer from Platinum Studios, he came over, executive producer from Platinum Studios came over and to the table, and they were looking for new books and new IPs essentially. And he saw he himself the pitch I gave, because obviously you've been there before yourself, Liz. You've been at several conventions. You always say you have an elevator pitch, and my elevator pitch for this series is just what if Rush Hour met Walking Dead? And he's a huge fan of Rush Hour. He's a huge fan of Buddy like that and everything. So he's, oh my gosh, I had to buy this. And so from that, he went ahead and picked up the series, and he kept reading everything else. And he called me up and he said, do you mind if I show this to my boss, the actual head of the studio? And that's Scott Mitchell Rosenberg. For those who don't know, he's the guy that made the Men in Black and Cowboys and Aliens. He also like owned Malibu Comics and all kind of stuff. And I said, sure. I was like, as I fell out of my chair from shock, I said, please do. And he did. And about like 4 months later, Scott himself called me and said, hey, I read your books. We need to talk. I said, of course. And so I basically over the next year or so, we pretty much planned how to do an official option as far as how to do things with Hollywood and get things moving, as far as how to pitch it to different studios and whatnot. And the thing about it was, what was rough about it too was just at the timing, because it was during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So everything kind of shut down. And then, of course, afterwards, there was a writer's strike and everything else. But there's always been we've always been pitching to some studios. It takes a while to get things moving, but there's always some interest. And I'm very, very grateful to have that producer's name. That the executive's name was John Lachago. He's my mentor now. Him and Scott are both my mentors, and they've both been around forever. And we're still pitching it to everyone we can, and talking to everyone we can about it.
That's amazing. And I also wanted to ask, like, throughout the time of like creating different stories and stuff like that, what was it like building the team? Because now you have at least more than 20 employees. You've been published for about 12 years now, and a lot of things has happened since then. What were some of the things that you look for when it came to building your team, and what have you learned along the way in terms of building your team? Because now, fast forward to 2026, you have so many talented, graphic designers, inkers, pencilers, people that have been in DC, that have done work in DC and Marvel as well. So what has the process looked like in the past few years?
Sure. No, again, that's another really, really good question. I guess you're familiar with like One Piece, right? The anime One Piece. Okay. I feel very much like Luffy as far as the pirate king, where I have all the teammates, all my my crew members. Essentially, I've been very grateful and very blessed to have them join up with us and do different things. Originally, it was very much trying to find anyone that I could afford that had any kind of talent that wanted to work with me, and it was rough at the very beginning because I had no idea what I was doing. And again, I was trying to figure out I learned to film school, so trying to figure out how to translate that into actual script for comic books, which is a little different. But it was, as we started picking up momentum, as I started writing more stories, and I started showing people that I was more serious about it. The industry is only so big, so people talk to other people. Illustrators talk to their friends about things, or colorists talk to other colorists, or illustrators talk to other colorists they've worked with before, and you kind of pick up steam momentum from that. And obviously, the more books we do, more people want to join up with us because they realize they can actually have a chance to build up their portfolio. And also, they have oftentimes, like I said before, Lizzie, just about everyone I've ever met has some kind of a story. So sometimes our talent comes to us with their own story, and they work in exchange at the beginning for having me. I will help them develop their story, their characters, while they help me, of course, develop the artwork of some kind too. And we do have, like, now I think it's, it's over 20 people, a lot that we work with in some capacity. And also the talent, we've been very, very fortunate to have. They've worked with DC, they work with Marvel, Image, Boom Studios, all these different places too. And they always come back to work with us. It's again like a big family. So I'm always very grateful that we have the kind of talent we do, and they're willing to do so much with us. And we just got our first 2 interns, who are my former students when I was a teacher too. We're very glad for that as well. So I'm pretty much the more or less the moral of the story is, what I found, Lizzie, is that if you are willing to work and willing to actually be creative around others, the good things will find you eventually. It's inevitable.
Yeah, that's very true. And what I like about the fact of you saying that you're not only a publishing company, but like, you're a creative studio, is because like you show evidence of that. Because like not only do you have the graphic novels, you have the comics, you have the partnership with Platinum Studios, so you'd be able to go into media with that. But then also I've seen, like with Cap Diesel, like how he has his podcast, you've like integrated yourself with that. You've been tagging a lot of the things. Also on your page, you do like reviews of different comic book authors. And then on the website, I saw that sometimes you provide news, so it's almost like a media outlet. So was that something that you were planning to do since the very beginning, or did that like kind of happen over time and it became part of like the brand as a whole?
Sure. Yeah, I definitely did not plan that. I am nowhere near smart enough for any of that stuff. I can barely turn a computer on most of the time. So it was a lot of it. Again, was I have a very, very good team, like a Diesel or Charlie. He's one of my best friends, and he's also kind of my protege in a sense. But he's very, very knowledgeable about doing lots of these different types of stuff, and he pushes for all these different things and expansion when it comes to doing like reviews for comics or how to do news. Also, Olivia, who's one of our partners for our company too, she's very, very good about how to actually do proper marketing with things and how to, of course, tell different types of stories and how to branch out in different areas I never would think of. When it comes to doing the bigger things with the actual studios, like Platinum Studios or whatever it might be that we're doing, I do, again, I have a team. I have a manager and producer. I have John and Scott that help me with those type of things too. My ultimate passion and love is to write. It's to tell stories. But oftentimes, of course, you need other people around you to help you tell the best story possible. It's about collaborating. And of course, when I was younger, I had more of an ego about that. But as I've gotten older, I realized the best way to do that, the best way to actually get it further ahead, is with others and being able to trust other people. Yeah, I'm not sure if I answered your question properly there at all.
No, I think you did answer the question. I really
Okay.
don't.
Yeah, old brain. I forget where I am most of the time. I think your name is Lizzie, right? Your name is Lizzie?
Don't worry. I've had people of all ages on here at this point, so you're good. You're good. You're good. The community is big, so there's people of all ages, and like I've had everybody. I believe like 60 plus at this point. So
Congratulations. Well done.
thank you, thank you. Well, it's thanks to the community that they've been inclusive, and like we have a lot of people like now recently. That's like the whole 30 plus movement. It's like
Yeah.
we deserve to be here. We don't tell us what to do, and like we still have the inner child in us. So yeah,
Right on. 100%. Yeah, 100%. I love it.
and I wanted to ask also, you now have services for people that want to create their own stories, or they want to be part of the team, if they want to hire talent. So I wanted to give you the stage to talk about those services for anybody in here who watches it back or comes into the stream that may be an inspiring indie comic book publisher themselves, or an artist, and they want to be on the team, or they want to work with you. What services you provide?
Of course. So one thing that's a little bit different about us, Lizzie, as opposed to lots of other indie creators or comic book creators, indie or comic book companies, is that we do want to help people tell their story in any capacity, whether it be a light novel, comic book, graphic novel, whatever you want to call it, manga even. And that's what you do. So let's say, for example, you're going to tell a story about how you got those amazing earrings, right? You come to us and you kind of break down what you intend to do, what you believe the story might be, and I do a full blown draft or outline of that. When you approve of that, then my team, they will go into doing layouts and paneling everything for actual kind of breaking down the actual story. Once you approve of that, we go to full inks, then we go to colors and what have you. The idea is that you actually are the architect. You work with us to actually kind of have your book brought to life, and that's what you hire us for. We currently have 9 clients in rotation right now. We're always looking for more. Oftentimes we're always getting more too. We have several artists that we work with, but we're also always looking for more artists. We recently had to hire somebody specifically to help us deal with managing, because I'm bad at everything, to help us manage all the talent we have that's coming in. So if you're a person, individual, or even a company or a team, whatever you might be, whatever our clients is, a corporation, they're actually a very big company. But if you're anyone that's trying to has a story to tell and wants to tell it and aren't sure how to do that, hit us up. Well, we'd be happy to help you do that. However, if you're an individual that is an artist or a creative and you want to get more involved in creating things, whether it be illustrations, coloring, inking, graphic designs, whatever it might be, come on by. We'd be happy to talk to you as well.
That's amazing. And I wanted to ask if you can give like background on like some of the characters, like what were the inspirations for them in Slate and Ashe, because I'm actually interested in like what inspired you to like create Ashe and then Slate, because they're so interesting characters, like just their personalities and just the concept of like Slate and like what he went through and everything like that, and even the villain. Like he's hilarious, but like it's like you love to hate him. It's one of those it's one of those situations, because it's like there's certain moments I'm reading and I'm like, okay, he's a good villain, but then I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, no, 100% fair, very fair. I'm glad. Thanks again for checking it out.
Yeah.
It's like, so for basically with Ash is based off of like I mentioned before, his visual style is based off of Huey Freeman. His personality is nothing like Huey. Obviously, he's very, very different from Huey. He's more or less their dynamics sound really, really bad. I'm gonna say it anyways. They're more or less like my brother and me. If Ash is kind of like me, just like a loudmouth idiot, And then Slate is very much like my brother as far as a very smart, intelligent. He's a lawyer right now.
Yeah.
So he's a very smart person, knows what he's doing. So that's the essentially the impetus for the characters design, kind of the original design as far as how they're thinking, their mentality, where they fall in the yin and yang spectrum, so to speak. And again, I mentioned how I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil. Ash's outfit is directly based. I'm not gonna lie. I stole it. It's directly stolen from like the way Leon looks in Resident Evil 2. If you see the book, you've seen Resident Evil 2. I'm sure you've seen the book. It's like, yeah, that's directly what it is. So there's no hiding that. This actual the bad guy that you mentioned is probably the blonde bastard.
Yes. I didn't want to say it like that. They probably would think I'm like making fun, but that's literally what it says.
That's the official name, his Christian name, his government name on his taxes is the blonde bastard. But if you see the book, you understand why he's called that. But he's very much, like I said before, I grew up reading lots of manga and watching lots of anime. He's very much the most anime like villain type of aura former there is. And so he's meant to be a fun type of character. Most of the times, you know this yourself, the villains are the fun characters you have in your stories as far as movies and comics and everything else. So he's meant to be a fun type of character to have there. And obviously Slade is meant to be the trauma farmer. He's a few steps from Guts as far as his being, always very sad and everything else. Guts from Berserk.
That no, Midnight Comics, the reaction.
So yeah, the tears. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, the tears. Yeah, make me cry. I'm sorry.
But I wanted to talk about some of the other IPs and titles that you have in the company. So before even Platinum Studios came about, you had like Divine Influence and Briarlands, Blackmore, and like it. I feel like I'm saying this wrong. IP Switch.
You were right the first time.
Okay.
But you were. But the thing is, no one ever gets it right. No one. It's perfectly fine. It's Ipswich. It's
okay.
It's not her fault, y'all. It's
okay. Because when I saw the title, I was like trying to pronounce it, and I was saying Ipswich, but I was like, am I saying?
You're 100% right. Right on.
And I want to ask, what were the inspirations for those stories, or I know they all released within like that year, but like, what was the process to get them released?
Sure. Yeah. So it was obviously we made them over different years, but we didn't release them at a different time. The stories themselves is it's when you create things yourself, Lizzie. It's all the influences you have, all the things that you like. It's getting an opportunity to kind of find a way to interpret those through your own lens and bring them to life. So, for example, with Ipswich. That one, I'm a huge fan of the X-Men, but I also like Lord of the Rings. That story there is meant to be it's meant to be X-Men meets Lord of the Rings. The story opens, spoiler alert, the story opens basically with a storm, our storm analog, throwing hands with our Riven from Witcher analog or Aragorn analog, and you see where things go from there. When it comes to Divine Influence, I'm also a huge Avatar, The Last Airbender fan, and Korra, I love Korra as well.
Yes.
And so it's meant to be essentially, what if angels were like Avatar? What if angels were on Earth essentially, and God Himself was re-resurrected on Earth, and He basically was like an avatar, and the angels are pretty much like people that like benders of some kind, trying to fight for Him, for control of Him, so to speak. And again, because I'm a huge fan of Avatar, he influenced Divine Influence. Or even with Briarlands. Briarlands was initially a book made for a client of ours, Otis East and Keith Stanley. But that idea is, I'm not sure if you've seen or heard The Wire. The show The Wire, it's The Wire meets the X-Men, so to speak. Obviously a huge fan of The Wire, so are they. And it's more or less dealing with as far as like being street level X-Men. But it's like to have to deal with dealing with actual drug lords and crime lords, but you also have abilities or powers too. So all these things are kind of, again, it's about pulling from our own influences that we shows or movies or stories that we enjoy, and finding a way to tell it, to interpret it as we see fit. If that makes sense.
Oh, that is amazing. And I also wanted to ask about the inspiration behind Screen Boy and the Eye of Hysteria.
Oh, sure. Yeah, of course. So Eye of Hysteria, that was another book for a client. That one, not to get too personal, but that client it's her story. It's meant to be kind of a biography, essentially.
Mm,
She wouldn't mind me sharing this too much, but she did grow up with a stepfather that was abusive,
mm,
and she would escape into her own, as she was drawing her own kind of her own comics, her own world, essentially. So the
mm,
book kind of Wisteria, if anyone has a chance to see it, it's literally drawn by two different teams that we have.
okay.
We have one team that draws the actual reality, the real world, and another team that draws the actual the world she imagines in her head.
Mm,
In my imagined world is much more colorful. She looks like actual like a soldier or a knight, essentially. In Wisteria, and the other team drawing reality shows, of course, her like living in like the slums of Chicago and things of that nature. When it comes to Scream Boy, that was pulled from one of my old friends who unfortunately passed away. It's
mhm,
very much meant to be Back to the Future meets The Matrix, as far as
mm,
Marty McFly was desperately trying to get back, was trying to find a way to get through multiple realities to get home, so to speak. In that particular book, it's about one thing I've always loved, of course, with like Spider-Verse or across the Spider-Verse, those kind of movies. I love the idea of different dimensions having different rules that apply to them. So in this story, what actually happens is people create essentially a gateway that gives them the ability to go into the fic dimension, and
mm,
the or fictional dimension. And the fictional dimension is a world that has all kinds of. It's essentially like our imagination, so to speak. But it's the imagination as far as our like stories. Like if you were to write Star Wars and you went to the fifth dimension, you could steal a lightsaber. The problem is
mm,
that if you had a lightsaber in our world right now, Lizzie, you could be a massive terrorist. So a whole
mm.
group of police are meant to police that type of thing. So it's just having fun. Again, it's all about trying to have fun, trying to find a way to have fun with the stories you're telling. There are no new stories under the sun, but it's about trying to make the wheel spin as you see fit, as opposed to spin like everyone else has made them before. If that makes sense.
That's true. And I'm not sure how much you could share when it comes to this, but I know there's like things that were released near the end of 2025 and then stuff that will be released in 2026. Um, so I wanted to ask about The Legend of Halak, Ashes Over Neon, and the Motions, if you can talk about it.
Sure.
And then the second part of the question is, we know we had Cap on the show, and how was the process like getting Reaper out and that came out in October?
Sure. See, I'll do Cap first with my boy Charlie. His was a slightly different situation because he did a lot of the legwork on his own first. He more or less, he had never made a comic book before. And so he came to me trying to figure out how to properly structure the script. I kind of helped him to edit that, and I helped him kind of assemble a team. He found his own illustrator or whatnot, but we worked together to help him get a proper colorist and all
Mm-hmm.
those different type of things. So he was much more of a lot of things are in motion with him already. And the biggest thing was with him is figuring out the best way to distribute the book as far as online and doing advertising, which he was really, really good at. Charlie was very much he was easy mode. He was very much easy mode. I had to do hardly any work with him. He was great. He was great
Yeah.
at it. When it came to another book as far as like Ashes Over Neon, that's a one for a client as well. That's a underground, not hip hopper. He's a what is he? He's basically we have another book for underground hip hopper, but he's an underground like musician, and he
Yeah.
wanted to do a story essentially where it's not telling his story, but telling what it'd be like to be in a dystopian future if you're a musician, so to speak.
Mm,
That's what that story's about. And the Legend of Halleck and Legend of Halleck and Sam. That's another book for a client, and that one is very much they're real people, but they wanted to have a fun fictionalized version of themselves if they went to another dimension to fight like a whole bunch of monsters and whatnot. And it's a lot. That was a lot of fun to work on that project because it was for a very, very loving family. We love them to pieces, and being able to bring that to life for them. Halleck's only 10 years old in real life, Lily. So being able to bring that to life for him, could you imagine seeing yourself in a comic book when you're 10 years old? It was crazy, and we did a massive, like this big old signing for it at Christmas. We surprised him actually. We did a big old signing for it at his house over Christmas. It was like 50 people over there. The house was sweating, it was jumping, it was great. So that's the kind of stuff I live for. I love actually seeing people's dreams come to life and helping them do it.
yeah, that's very true.
And I forgot the motions. The motions
There
is
you
one that
go.
we're very much our partner Olivia. That's her story essentially. That one is about It's kind of like the movie Soul meets the movie Inside Out, as far as a person that's very determined to do something when they are in a very bad place, and kind of seeing what that does to your heart as far as how your emotions feel about that, and dealing with that type of situation. So it's we're really proud about that project too, as that's going getting further into development.
That's
You did
all.
your homework. You did your homework. You did some. Wow, you know more than I do about about this stuff. Well done. Wow, well done.
It's funny. I do appreciate what you guys say. I like to make sure I like learn a little bit before I have you guys on, because me personally, I don't think it makes sense to have you guys on if I don't know anything. Like, I know I can ask you, but I don't. I just don't feel like it makes sense.
No, I'm just impressed. I'm impressed. I'm talking my face off, but you know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. Well done.
But
Well
yeah,
done.
the goal is for you to be able to just talk about, the stuff that you do. So like, because the floor is all you guys. So
Oh, you are a very generous host. Thank you much.
you're welcome. And I want to ask. Usually I ask people about just how they try to balance. You have your everyday normal life, and then your entrepreneurship career, and how do you try to balance everything that you're doing? There's so much that you're doing, and what helps you stay grounded to continue the work that you're trying to do?
Sure, that's a great question too. And they always talk about the whole work life like balance. It's not always easy to do. I try my best to have some kind of routine as far as making sure I do in the morning. I go to the gym and what have you, and I make sure at night I turn off my phone and keep it away so I can try to separate myself from the business.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a little hard to do that because it is my business, it is my full time job, and I am managing so many different projects, and I have so many different teams and everything else. So part of it is, like I mentioned before, Cap or the Captain Diesel. He's my partner, and also Otis and Olivia is having a team that I work with. My kind of the top of the pirate. What's it called? What's the pirate ship called? The One Piece. The Going Merry.
Go
Is it Going?
Mary, yeah,
Yeah,
go
Going
Mary, yeah.
Merry. Or what? Is that the right? No, Sun. This is the Sunny. The Sunny is
Well,
the most recent
okay,
one.
okay, I slipped. Like, rest in peace, Mary. No, no, no,
Oh, it's
no,
hard.
no. All the One Piece fans, like, I know you're gonna drag me. It's okay. It's okay. I
No,
accept.
no, it's my fault, not her. She's fine. She's innocent. She's innocent. That's my bad entirely.
I don't know if I can fight her. That's why I'm giving a disclaimer. Like, please don't fight. No, please don't fight me.
I cannot. That's a massive following. Good gracious. But the
Yeah,
Sunny, the one
yeah.
that Frankie built. Essentially having that crew with me as we're navigating the waters, um, that makes everything. I know that I don't have to, if I am having a rough day, or if I am kind of confused or what have you, I can hit one of them up anytime and they'll help me out. They'll back me up.
Mm,
Oftentimes also with them, especially with Charlie and Otis, I will just spend hours with them on PSN, kind of just to deflate, or even going on dates, that type of stuff. It's weird. I try to find women that don't care about comics and manga, because I don't have to worry about them asking them like, "What's that?" Perfect. Let's go ahead and just talk about something completely different. What do you like to do? Like to paint and drink water? Let's go. That's a perfect date for me. So yeah, it's more or less trying to find a way to separate the things that I do love my job very, very much, and it's very consuming, but I try to find a way to separate work from play, and make sure they actually are there are some difference there when I am playing. Does that make sense?
yeah, that does make a lot of sense. And I wanted to ask, what are some of the goals that you have for the company going forward?
Sure, absolutely. One thing is I'm not sure I can disclose, but we're huge animation and anime fans, and we're trying to we are talking to different people about trying to get things to have staff that love to be involved with animation. Also, we're trying to grow the company as far as bringing on more people, bringing on more talent. Um, we want to have it where we are able to do more nonprofit stuff, and we also want to be able to start penetrating schools, being involved with schools. Many, I have the school teacher right here. The good power. I love helping young people, find their voice in it creatively, whatever it might be. So we'd love to be more back involved with schools as far as helping young people learn how to read or embrace creativity through comic books.
Mm-hmm.
And we also would like to do whatever we can as far as being more involved with the community in general.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, there are so many things as far as just like comic books. read them yourself a lot of times. Being able to kind of give a voice to those that don't really know how to even speak just yet. What's that old adage? Art is a lie that tells the truth, or something along those lines.
I think something like that.
Something. I know I'm butchering it to pieces. Get torn apart for that too. The going merry, and then the art butchering expressions. But the idea is that obviously artists, especially Black creatives, it's if we have a chance or an opportunity to find a way to help get our story out there, I think we should do that. And I would love for Echelon to do that more with people. Their own individual stories, yes, but also in general, the community too.
I think you're definitely getting there. So like we're just gonna keep pushing for that.
But we have to, yeah.
Definitely. And how was it growing up for you, loving what you love, as like a fellow nerd like the rest of us, Blurred, loving what you love? And how was it, how does it feel full circle moment that you not only got to partner with companies that do film adaptations for comics, you're working with people that have work in Marvel and DC and, have worked in Paramount and DreamWorks now. How much of a full circle moment was that, given how your experience was growing up like that, growing up loving these things?
Sure. It was surreal, obviously. When I was younger, because I'm so old that when the Big Bang happened, I told them to lower the volume.
Oh my God.
So it was back in the day. Like now, obviously, anime and manga and what have you, and comic books in general, they're kind of ubiquitous, and lots of people like them. It's fine. You can be really cool with that type of stuff. When I was a pup, that was not the case, especially as a young Black man. So there were a lot of us that were kind of closet nerds, so to speak. So we had to do lots of things that were expected of us. So I couldn't really openly read comic books as much. I couldn't really openly talk about, watching Akira or whatever it was. So the idea of working in an industry where I actually get to celebrate those and get paid to make things that are adjacent to that is just mind-boggling. It seems almost impossible. It's like if somebody said to you right now, Lizzie, in a few years you'll be at the head of flying dragons. Like, dragons? I can't. Do dragons exist? That's kind of what it feels like in lots of ways.
I like that analogy because it's very true. When you do something that you aren't expecting you're gonna do, you're like, I didn't expect this, like 15, 20, however many years ago.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and thanks for being generous by saying only 15 or 20 as opposed to 40 or 50. Yeah, very, very kind of you. Very kind.
I mean, definitely. But as my family says, every year when we get older, they well, some of them, they don't say how old, they ask how young to make them.
There you go. There you go. I'll remember that expression.
Yeah, so they say, "How young are you?" So it's like a funny topic. So they don't feel a crisis after.
Yeah, 100%.
And I wanted to ask. Usually, what I ask in the show is about support in our community. And like wherever you identify, Black community, Blur community. I asked, what do we do well to support each other? What can we do better? And this is from everybody's experience based on their part of or where they are in this space.
Yeah. So one thing I have learned in my experience is just how there was definitely a weird time where Black creatives were not trying to be as collaborative. It was almost like it was much more, I have to get ahead of everybody else. I had to be better than everybody else. It's me or bust, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
When I was very young, I kind of thought, I guess that's the way to get things done, but it's very much not. It's about being, again, it really is about working with a team. There's so many different things that I just am not capable of doing, and working with people has made it that much better. So if we as a people, especially Black creatives, can understand the reality as far as being as inclusive as possible with ourselves, it really does help us. The idea is for us all to go further as opposed to any of us holding each other back, if that makes sense.
No, yeah, that does make sense. And I understand where you're coming from, like first starting out before people thought to even collaborate, and we're still working on that, where they're just like, especially I had a panel last year, like in person, and we talked about like the competitive nature in the Black community and, the chase for what we view as Black excellence. And I said something. Well, whoever did watch it knows what I said, but I just said that there's a pro and a con to it depending on who's doing it. It's just like, yes, we know what the meaning of Black excellence is, but I feel like when it comes to collaboration, that's kind of like where it falls off sometimes, because some people feel like they need to gatekeep certain things because they're just like, you're my competition, I'm trying to get to the next spot. Because I feel like because of that mindset, it's like I have to get out of, the hood, or I have to get out of this situation, so therefore I need to get ahead of everybody else in order to,
Yeah. Almost like there's only so many spaces available, so I have to make sure I get there before you do. Otherwise, I'm stuck, kind of a thing. And it's not true. It's not true. It's very much more. We can. My partner Otis has a saying when he said, "Of course, we get a lot further. You can get faster on your own, but you get a lot further with others." And it's like that's very much the case that I found, having other people with me. Like you mentioned before, all different things that Echelon started doing as far as a company. And that's largely in part because of my team, not because of me. And I'm very grateful for them. So it's, if we're able to kind of look past our own ego, especially as Black creatives, we can do so much more. We can do so much more together than we can do on our own. And not seeing our neighbor, our brother or sister as our enemy, but see them as our friend we haven't met yet.
Yeah, that's very true. And I want to say, what has been some of the, I guess, rewards, because how you also help people create their own UGCs, like their own stories, from the whole process, like if they need consultation and like storyboarding, all the way down to like the marketing. What are some of the rewards, or kind of just like the impact you felt like working with the clients under Echelon Novels?
Sure. So sometimes it is just, like I mentioned before, the family at Christmas, that the young boy who saw his book actually brought to life. It wasn't just him; it was also his family. Seeing the mother and father literally in tears because they were so happy that actually it was something that vision was brought to life. It meant everything to them. And having people, again, that just have in a way that just do not know. People have spent, some of our clients have spent like 20 plus years trying to making a story. And they are doing everything they can, but they may not have the art skills, they may not have the writing skills to try to bring it to life properly. So knowing that we are some kind of an actual solace for people does mean a lot to me. The idea that we actually are, it may seem silly, but we actually are helping people in some way is impactful. And also doing what we can to try to help people, seeing how people do, when I did work in schools, seeing how many young people that may have learning disabilities do learn how to read a lot better through comic books and manga as well. Seeing how people can relate to the characters from the stories that we tell too. These are things that really do matter, and they matter a lot to me.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I'm glad that you're able to do that and like help others. And something that I saw when I was like reading your mission statement, like when it comes to for you in writing, it's interesting how you said that anytime you want people to read your stories, it's kind of like watching like a 2D movie. I mean, so when I saw that and then I started reading Slade and Ashe, I was like, okay, I can see that. So what inspired you to put that in your mission statement, or just in general? Because I know you gave the background and everything like that of what you like, how you started writing and how you wanted to be into film, but what inspired like that way of thinking when it comes to writing?
Sure. I think what it is just that because I'm a huge fan of movies, and they really are, they're meant to be engaging, of course. And so if I can make a person feel like they were literally holding a movie in their hands, hopefully it'd be that much more immersive. They'd be that much more drawn into it. They would work with it that much more. And again, part of it too is the alternative motive is that I do want our stuff to be adapted into anime or films or what have you. And if the comics themselves lean that much more towards those mediums where people can clearly see them as film or anime, we're all the better for it. It's almost like it's kind of like cheating in a way.
Yeah. No, yeah, that definitely makes a lot of sense. And this is a question I ask everybody where they're like, it's hard for some people know. Do you have a favorite IP that like you wrote and created? I know there's a lot like between the graphic novels and the
one that I made.
Yeah, that you.
Oh, I was going to say as far as I love to watch. that I made. Yeah, it's probably so it's a weird thing. So you mentioned Blackmore. My favorite character is the main character Victoria Blackmore from that series, because she is very much everything. She literally is like the world's first mad scientist. Everything she does blows up in her face. It's a bad day on cocaine for her. But I love her to pieces. But my favorite series or IP, of course, will be Slade and Ash. It is very much, kind of it's like my brother and I in a sense. It's kind of our journey, as it was. It has a lot of, like, it pulls from some of my favorite things growing up, and also it does deal with some themes as far as dealing with race and class and that type of stuff. And the action in it is meant to be as cinematic as it can be. It's a little bit older now. It's our first book, it's our flagship title. It was meant to be a fun experiment as far as how do we translate a movie into a two-dimensional experience like that in holding your hands. If that makes sense.
That's true. And I know when I found out about the partnership with Platinum Studios, I saw that like Slate and Ashay is one of those series that you would like for it to, possibly have an adaptation. So I would say, like, what is kind of like the idea that you have for it? I know you can't say much in terms of like, if there's production or anything like that, but what are some of the ideas you have in like turning that into a reality?
Sure. I mean, ideally, these days, there's so many different avenues, like as far as streaming and whatnot. Ideally, it would be an animated series of some kind on, like, Amazon or Netflix or what have you. Any medium, any source. That would be the ideal situation. I would love to see, even if it's just a small, like, one part of the story, it's brought to life, animated, would mean the world to me. I know that's obviously a long shot, but that's what I'm here for. I feel like so many people, especially these days, it's just animation penetrates such a large audience, and there's so many people that can bizarrely relate to so many characters in animation. But one thing that you and I are very aware of, there aren't that many characters that look like us in anime or even animation for the most part. So if there are some characters that do have nuanced characters of color, featured in animation, we stand a much better chance of actually kind of reaching those people.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And I would say, how has this journey of, running your company, how has it helped you personally? Could be emotionally, physically.
Sure. The easiest answer is it's given me hope that I didn't know existed. It was very, very easy to get discouraged earlier on as far as who would want to give a young, black man a chance as far as being a writer. And of course, there were countless doors closed in my face. So the idea of being able to have a successful company where people come to us, wanting us to help them tell their stories, has been a very eye-opening as far as the idea that we can, not only has it given me hope, but I'm able to kind of give that hope back to others in a sense. That's the biggest takeaway of having my own company. It's very hard. Of course, there are lots of long days, but I'm very, very grateful to be here. I'm very, very grateful for the people that are around me that make it possible to do so. And we're always looking for more people that want to have hope.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of that, for those that may want to be a part of the team, whether it's like being an artist or just being part of like the creative process, what is the process like if people want to join Echelon Novels?
Sure. So obviously the first step is just go to our website. I guess you probably put it there, but echelonnovels.com. Once you go there, reach out to us. You either get directly to me or one of my partners directly. We try to respond within a day at the most. And if you're an aspiring artist or creator, of course, have some kind of samples or portfolio to show us what you've done. We're always looking for some kind of talent. Some of the talent we bring on, they are still very young or fledgling, so they obviously they're not always going to be available to do work for our clients or paying for things. However, we always want to help them learn to grow, kind of help them hone their craft or their skills too. And if you are a more seasoned artist, we definitely like to take you on. If you already have done plenty of work, already have your established rates, we wouldn't undercut you. You keep your same rates, that's perfectly fine. We just want to see what you want to do. We have plenty of clients. We're always looking for more of those too. But the main thing is we want you to find a way to, if you are an artist or are an aspiring artist, this is meant to be a safe place for you to grow and to meet other artists as well. If that makes sense.
No, yeah, that definitely makes tons of sense.
Yeah, except before I'm very old, I can ramble like crazy. I get very confusing. So yeah.
No, you're good. Don't worry. But definitely, it was definitely a pleasure having you. Hopefully, you had a good time.
I did. Of course, like I've been a fan of yours. Definitely seeing you with the D's with Captain. It made me like, she's so nice. Yeah, and then once I saw the earrings, I was like, yeah, she's definitely she's a real one. So yeah, this is a lot of fun. You had really good questions too. I was impressed with the questions, research. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I just want to give you this time now just to plug in all the information that people need to know, like where to get the comic books, where to see what you're doing next, and like where to follow you.
Sure. So obviously the website, I think you posted it, or if you haven't posted it, the website is echelonnovels.com. Come look, hit us up. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Right there. That's it. Yeah. I know it's a bit of a mouthful, but once you put it in your computer, it'll be there forever. Your phone. So on Instagram, we're at Echelon X Novels. That's we did a new Instagram, but that's how we are. We're going on Facebook. If anyone even uses that, I believe it's also Echelon G Novels. And we are I think we are on Instagram. Right? That's the problem. I'm so old. I know we are on TikTok and some other things, but Captain Diesel, Charlie takes care of that type of stuff. So I'm not entirely sure what those things are.
Yeah.
I'll hit them up real quick. Like, what's our stuff there? But it's pretty much if you go to those main ones, as far as the Facebook or online or Instagram, it's type in Echelon, and the odds are it'll come up. It will be there. And again, don't worry about if you don't believe you are good enough to be an artist to work professionally. We don't care. We want to talk to anybody and everybody and help you kind of grow. If you do have a story but you're not sure at all how to get started with it, hit us up. It may be that you've written an entire great story. That's perfectly fine. You just need an art team. Happy with that too. Everyone's welcome. That's the whole point. It's meant to be as inclusive as possible. I had more than enough doors closed in my face to realize I would never do that to somebody else.
No, yeah, I definitely understand that. And thank you guys that like came in, came out. I really do appreciate it, guys. And for those of you not know what I do, hi, my name is Lizzie. I'm AnimeinkArt. I started as an art brand. This is some of my merchandise here. I'm usually in the wall, but since we moved to this platform, that's why we're here in the living room. But I traditionally draw and then I digitally edit to create my own style per se. So definitely, I also cosplay. Shout out to Otaku Noir. They make amazing Black mystery boxes. I was a cosplay model for them last year. If you can use code AnimeinkArt to get free shipping, and they also are doing the BlurCon Geek Unique boxes. So definitely, check that out. And the Mystery Noir. Shout out to people like Blurs Unite. They gave me the opportunity grant, like to do these shows. This show is like a part of my mission statement to support other blurred and Black creators. It started with me doing it on my page. It's kind of turned into Instagram Live, and now I legitimately have to say a podcast. I didn't say a podcast before in the past, and I do my art. So if you want commissions, if you want to know where we're going next, please feel free to do that. And also check us out on AnimeinkArt 1 and as well as AnimeinkArt LIve 1. And that's where you'll get all the updates. You'll get the link to the YouTube. Make sure you subscribe. That's free to do. As well as check out the broadcast channel because that's where you get all the information next. And we have an open call for AnimeinkArt LIve Talks, so check AnimeinkArt 1 for that. And yeah, I definitely do appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a good weekend. And with that, we're going to sign out. Bye, guys.